Welcome and welcome back to S.WigginsTV. It's your host, Worldwide Wiggins, back with some more dope content for y'all. And I do mean dope content today. When you walk around LA, or you just look at the demographics of all of the gangs that surround, in present day, one can't help but to ask, okay, this is here today, or these hoods is here today, but what used to be here, bro? I wonder, what it was like back in the 80s. And that's what this channel is all about. History, learning, the fundamentals. Last week, we talked about the 9-8 gangster Crips across Century in the Westmont area. But today, we gonna talk about another gang that had the balls to go up against the Hoovers and the Rollin and had a bunch of cliques from the 80s to the 100s. But nobody talks about it. Well, nobody but me, of course. One of the most forgotten hoods in South Central LA. You could damn near say the most forgotten hood of South Central LA. We talking about the Playboy style Crips. Now, for those of you who's not familiar, who've never seen the interviews and, past work I've done on this gang, let me give you a quick rundown and some history. Then we gonna get into it. Playboy Styles started in 1982 on 106 between Vermont and Normandy Avenue. They originally wanted to really just be a player type get down, with smooth dudes, getting the ladies and all that. But they ended up being hustlers as well. So instead of being gangsters or hustlers like, some of their predecessors, they became known as the Playboy Styles, to show that they pimping, they got style, they got swag, whatever, drip for all you youngers out there. Now, given the fact that they on 106th Street, they were in very close proximity with the 107 Hoovers. So they pretty much grew up with them and in a way looked up to them because they started, the Hoovers started banging before the Playboy Styles. And after seeing they program, the Playboy Styles decided to put the C on it and became known as the Playboy Style Crips, 106th Street. So, in the very beginning, the Playboy Styles was pretty much shared the same enemies as the Hoovers and pretty much beef with everybody that they beef with in their area. Examples, the Rollin 90s, the Hunters, the neighborhoods, etc. And everyone else who didn't get along with them. And as a matter of fact, they hood streets and structures was very similar to that of the Hoovers. Because like I said, the Hoovers was like big brothers to them. Well, what do you mean they streets and structures was very similar, Wiggins? Check it out. The Playboy Styles had 106th Street Playboy Styles, which is influenced by the 107 Hoovers. The Playboy Styles had 9-5 Playboy Styles, which was influenced by the 9-dose/9-4 Hoovers. The Playboy Styles had the 8-dose Playboy Styles, which was influenced by the 8-tray Hoovers. You catch my drift? You could even say there was a couple more cliques like the 101 Playboy Styles that might have been influenced by the Century Hoovers. You know what I'm saying? They just pretty much took their structure from the Hoovers. Nothing wrong with that, Everybody looked up to somebody, all right? And as far as I know, the 106th Street clique of Playboy Styles, from what I heard, was founded by their big homie Termine. And they 9-5 clique was started by J-Bird. So, I'm not going to say they shared liquor stores or shared, anything, but they definitely maneuvered in the same areas. Because, the Hoovers is very territorial. So, they definitely went to the same schools, like Bret Hart and Washington, and they frequented the same areas. Come on, man, they right next to each other. And not to mention, the Playboy Styles also share a Playboy alliance with the Playboy Gangster Crips, the Playboy Hustlers on 68th, the Playboy Hoovers in, near the Grape Street area in Weiss, which all push with the Gangster Crips. So, the Playboy Styles grew in numbers. In the late 80s, it was normal to see the Playboy Styles deepest hanging out on 106th Street. But somewhere along the line, they fell out with the Hoovers, man. Some say it was because they made peace with the Rollin honeys. Some say it was over a female. Some say it was over some money. Some say it was over some dope. But whatever it was, it had a great impact on their relationship. Because from that point forth, the Hoovers waged war against the Playboy Styles. It got pretty bad. Now, don't get me wrong. They took losses from the Rollin honeys. Even they had scrimmages with the 10-4 hard times. If you know, you know. And from one of their main enemies, the 90s. But it was they beef with the Hoovers that really hurt them. Always remember this. Figuratively and literally, the people closest to you is going to do the most damage. Now, in this particular situation, as it pertains to this beef, these guys are so close, when they go at it, what's the barrier? There's nowhere to turn. They right next door. So, we going to briefly and delicately touch on some of the wars they had, and move on. Now, you can't mention the Playboy Style without mentioning one of their main riders, like Big Bo Peep. Enemies of Bo Peep, or not even allies of the Playboy Styles, would speak highly of Bo Peep. He was a known low since a little kid. When I interviewed Kimbo for Playboy Styles, he said it himself. When Bo Peep got put on, he whooped his put on. As you know, I mentioned earlier that the Playboy Styles was enemies of the neighborhood Crips. So being caught out of bounds would mean danger for either one. But Bo Peep was what you call a different breed. So much so, he used to live in his enemy turf. Bo Peep actually stayed in the 111 neighborhood Crips turf, one of the most notorious and oldest hoods in the Rollin honeys. He was known to walk around seat up. For those who don't know, that means, he was flaunting blue clothes, walk around with blue rags, croaker sacks, and khaki suits. Like an old school Crip, like how they used to dress back in the days. You got an uncle, or a daddy, or older homie, cripped out. Bo Peep was fearless and put in work for the Playboy Styles. However, in 1987, Bo Peep was gunned down at the tender age of just 19 years old. Long live Bo Peep. And here's one of the last pieces of the war that I can speak on, because it's already been, I already got permission to speak on it, and it is one of the last accounts of the war. In 2009, around 2009, allegedly, this is made up, this is for entertainment, I'm lying, you know what I'm saying? So, check it out. A member of the Playboy Styles was hanging on 107th and Budlong. He was shot and killed. I won't say his name, I won't say nothing about him, but this marked one of the endings / frictions of the war between the Playboy Styles. Because let me tell you, this was a bloody war. I don't know who did what and nothing like that. I will tell you, it got pretty nasty. It was one of the worst wars, one of the most underground, less talked about wars ever in LA history. And you know what? This is a friendship and fallout, because they was close. And I'm going to say this too in closing. Another thing that hurt the Playboy Styles in this war, even before and after, it kind of trickled down their membership and their recruitment, was some of their members actually turned Hoover. Like you had some of them turn 107 or, 9-deuce or whatever. So that, I could see like aesthetically it looked bad. And no disrespect to the Playboy Styles, but that's another thing, the people looked at from outside looking in. But I'll leave that to y'all. So that's gonna conclude today's episode, man. Don't make that face like you ain't enjoy this episode. You better hit that like button. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And stay tuned, man. More dope content on the way. I'll let you boy. I'm gone. Worldwide.